IVM.
Hey, Raghavi, what's your opinion on revenge?
Oh, I don't think it works at all.
Okay, but what if you get closure from it?
Closure. See, closure, as BoJack Horseman once said,
Oh,
is a made-up thing
I can't believe you throw BoJack Horseman into my face.
because it
But-
works on you.
Yes, it does. But what do you do when you're pissed off with someone?
I usually just eat my weight in cake or something.
What? You don't ever want to punch them in the face or I don't know, trick all their friends into leaving them by spreading a terrible rumor about them?
Whoa, no, I don't have the time or patience to plan any of that. What do you do when you're pissed?
What you said, the cake eating thing, same Z's. Have you ever wondered why women don't do more crime? Well, we're here to tell you. There's misconduct all the time. Women are thieves and murderers.
That's gross misconduct.
Con artists, money launderers.
Criminal misconduct.
Financial fraud that's hard to track.
Takes some planning, but still misconduct.
Even breaching a contract.
Well, that's more civil though.
It's misconduct. Misconduct. We tell you all about women that suck. Things that make you say, what the? It's misconduct.
Hello, and welcome to Misconduct. We are a podcast on which we talk about Indian women that did some illegal, sometimes unethical things, and occasionally we also talk about women from Indian mythology that may have also done some bad things. My name is Raghavi.
And I am Nisha. And today we will be talking about Unniyarcha, a famed heroine from the old ballads of Kerala, a state located at the southwesternmost tip of India. Unniyarcha is not a real person. She is a character from the Vadakkan Paattukal. Vadakkan Paattukal are the northern ballads of the Malabar region. The ballads speak of Unniyarcha as a warrior. And today she is considered a famous female icon produced by Malayalam literature. Unniyarcha is revered for her bravery, her beauty, her independence, and her insane Kalaripayattu skills. This is a Malabar martial art form that is practiced extensively even today. But most importantly, at least important to this episode, is that Unniyarcha is known for two things. One, her undying loyalty to her clan, and two, her horrific revenge against the man who killed her brother.
Oh, heavy. Now, this is an episode about a woman from folklore, from literature, of course. She is important to a lot of people, even if she was likely a violent woman who was out looking for revenge. And that's because, surprise, even ancient works of literature understood that women can be many things. They can be strong, they can be vindictive and skilled and prideful and beautiful all at once.
Are you listening, Chetan Bhagat? Are you listening? Women can be many things. But yes, we will be respectful and tell you what the ballads say. Similar to what we did for our episode on Kannagi, she is also an extremely important figure in Tamil literature, even if she did burn an entire capital city down to ashes and dust. And even though this is an episode on a fictional woman, we still have to say this. The podcast is not suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised.
Girl, you know what time it is?
What?
It's context time.
Woo!
First, I'll start with what I'm not covering.
Okay. And what is that?
Just everything about Kerala and the Malabar coast in general. It's too much. You guys have Google.
Yes.
Most of you have smartphones. You can figure out where Kerala is located, what it's famous for. You can sort through thousands of years of history at your own leisure.
Mhm.
I don't have the time for that today, so we won't be covering it.
We will, of course, say the food is excellent.
I know.
The food is so good. But what will you be covering today?
Sure, we'll talk about two major things in today's context setting section.
Mhm.
First one is the Vadakkan Paattukal, and the second one is Kalaripayattu.
Yes.
Now, Vadakkan Paattukal quite literally means songs of the north. They're basically a collection of ballads in Malayalam from the medieval period. As they are songs, they are, of
Mhm.
course, oral renditions. And because of that, the stories may have deviated from the original over some time, right? So now we specifically have looked far and wide to figure out where these songs came from, what are their origins. But they seem to have been first sung around the 16th century. But that may be only because the written reproductions of the ballads can be traced back to the 16th century. The songs could be much, much older. We also looked for a composer, someone we can definitively say that, yes, this man or woman composed them.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we didn't find anything to attribute the songs to any specific writer. However, if you, dear listeners, have any more information on this or even any sort of historical evidence that states there's a definitive composer of these songs, please write to us. We want this information. If you know more, please tell us.
Oh, definitely. And you might know more. Do you have a Malayali grandparent? You likely will know more than us
yes.
already. That's right. So the songs basically talk about many, many heroes, including Unniyarcha and her brother Aromal Chekkavar. Now, these heroes are often even regarded as deities by some communities in North Kerala. The songs center around two major families, the Tacholi Manikot family, who are from the Nair community, and the Puthuram family, who are from the Tiyar community. Now, the exploits of these warriors from these communities basically forms the crux of the Vadakkan Paattukal. And what did they have in common, you ask?
I didn't ask, but now I'm curious. Tell.
Yes, the one thing they had in common between all of these warriors is Kalaripayattu, which is an old martial tradition of Kerala. So, as Nisha mentioned earlier, Kalaripayattu is a very, very old martial arts, probably one of the oldest surviving martial arts in India, and in fact, even the world. In terms of historic evidence, it's been in practice for at least 3 centuries. The word Kalaripayattu, if you roughly translate it, basically means training in the art of the battlefield. Now, it's really not clear whether the Vadakkan Paattukal are responsible for the rise of Kalari or whether Kalari was, just a popular art. And that's the reason Vadakkan Paattukal became their cult status,
Yeah, and again, if you know more about this, more about Kalaripayattu, more about, the history and why there's such a, how it gained its significance, please tell us, please.
Yeah, especially, the sort of confluence between Vadakkan Paattukal and Kalari, because the art form and the ballads, at this point, they seem to be inseparable. Kalari, of course, like any traditional martial art, is really rooted in the physical as well as the spiritual. The art form required very little or extremely light body armor because it's actually based more on the individual's flexibility than brute strength. They also have light weaponry. They use strikes, kicks, grappling techniques, and of course, they have very elaborate healing methods to, gradually allow practitioners to grow stronger, both mentally and physically. But the core aspect of Kalari, and this is something that really excited me, is that Kalari is sex and caste neutral.
Yay!
I know. So Kalari is open to just about anyone. And women in Kerala in particular also underwent training when they were children itself, especially in medieval times. Historically, this training is actually almost considered mandatory for all children in Kerala, similar to how we did physical training in school.
Yeah, except I hope no one shamed you if you didn't want to run around or play Coco or whatever when you're on your period. Oh my God.
Oh God, yeah.
I hate PE.
Dude, I have never met a PE teacher that I truly liked.
Yes.
Okay, they were all kind of trash. And they were just so mean to everyone.
For no reason.
Yeah. If you forgot your shorts to wear under your skirt, you'd get your ass handed to you if you didn't cut your nails. Just dumb things like that.
Yeah. And I mean, if that's your problem, just let girls wear shorts, man.
Yeah.
Why is... Actually, you know what? We had that divided skirt thing. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
We had to wear shorts under that.
Yeah. I don't know what the point of that skirt was.
Just... okay.
I think they just made us buy more fabric. For the heck of it.
That's exactly what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
I think the idea is it's shorts, but we can't see your legs. Aha, girls, your modesty is protected.
I am now preserved and pure.
Thank you, patriarchy. Anyway, so before this deviation, we were talking about how Kalari is sex neutral. That is, either men or women could practice it. Is Kalari gender neutral, however? We actually don't know. The Vadakkan Paattukal looks at the two sexes, that's men and women, and that's kind of it. And if this was indeed composed and distributed in the 16th century, then you know what? Extending something so important to women generally is already a big win for its time.
That's
so
true.
We're not really going to question it. Now, something to remember about Kerala during the medieval period was Kalari was used extensively to settle disputes. So think of it like a duel, except you don't shoot from a distance. This is not Hamilton. You engage in hand-to-hand combat to settle a dispute. So this was called an angam, quite literally just battle in Malayalam. A cool thing about angam was you were given a lot of time to prepare for it if you needed it. So when two individuals decided to duel it out in an angam, they could be given up to 12 years to train themselves with all the possible ways that they could in combat, in weaponry, in strategy, all so that they can be absolutely proficient when they do engage in the angam. In some cases, you could even nominate someone else to perform the angam in your stead.
Ah, yes. Outsourcing.
Yes,
You're so good at it.
Also, in the 19th century, Kalari sort of declined in popularity across the state. And that was because the British,
Aha.
they banned it.
Nobody ever says the British and then follows it up with something fun. The British make bland food.
Yeah.
The British colonized everyone. The British, they just suck. It's the worst.
Correct. That's what it was. The British gave newspapers, maybe.
Oh, okay, fine. They gave us trains, I guess.
Yes.
But they took all our diamonds.
Gib Kohinoor.
Gib stone.
Gibstone. So the British banned Kalari. For 13 years, between 1793 and 1806, the region saw the waging of the Kottayattu War, which was a rebellion led by King Parsi Raja Kerala Varma. That's a powerful name. This was against the East India Company. The East India Company tried to shake him off, but it was particularly difficult. In November 1805, however, Parsi Raja died when he was shot by the EIC forces, and immediately Kalari was banned. All the training grounds across the state, it was banned across all of those. There were many gurukuls that continued training in secret, but it still couldn't be practiced freely. So this impacted the identities of many communities in Kerala in a pretty negative way, and therefore it just became a very helpful tool for the British to divide up the lands.
Yeah, that actually reminds me, if you are in Calicut, please visit the Parsi Raja Museum and Art Gallery. There's apparently an entire exhibit on his life and how he engaged in guerrilla warfare in the hills of Wayanad, especially against the Brits. I've actually never been, but I personally love supporting museums, especially, with historical artifacts such as these.
Yeah.
It's really all we have left, after years of systematic destruction of our history. So please support them.
Yes. I'm not very great at making jokes, but I'm going to take a stab at it.
Okay.
Raghavi, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Kalaripayattu.
Kalaripayattu.
Nice to meet you.
Disgusting. Okay, with this, let's just take a teeny tiny break. And Nisha, please go think about what you just did. When we get back, who was Unniyarcha and what was her big deal? Let's find out.
What is the workplace and how does your gender and body affect your right at work? Hey, I'm Priya Mirza, and on the Longest Constitution podcast, we critically examine the vision of the Indian Constitution and laws. In season 1, we looked at sex, gender, sexuality in India, and the landmark judgments which transformed our rights as citizens in this country. In season 2, we discussed the laws which shape the workplace and examine how ability, competence, and merit impact us, and much more. Join me, Priya Mirza, every Wednesday only on the IVM podcast app, website, and all the major podcast streaming platforms.
Welcome back from the break. So let's get into the story of Unniyarcha. Unniyarcha was from the Puthuram family of Kattanad, a family that was known across Malabar as a clan of fierce warriors, both male and female alike. Kind of like the Spartans. It appears that they actually originated from Elam, the predominantly Tamil part of Sri Lanka. This is according to our primary source for this folktale, which is a book by Pushpa Kurup. It's called Power Women, A Journey into Hindu Mythology and Folklore. Unniyarcha's father was called a Chekkavar, which is a warrior subcaste of the Tiya community. In his lifetime, he is said to have won at least 41 Kalari duels. He was a legend, to say the least. Unniyarcha also had two brothers, Aromal and Unnikannan. Aromal is important to this story. Also, we're just going to call her Archa from this point on.
It's just two fewer syllables.
Yes.
You can call her whole name.
No, Archa. Archa was trained in Kalari from the age of 7. She was known for her skill in practice and was a village favorite as well. She was also known for her beauty. She was having like dusky golden skin and dimpled cheeks.
Yes, but did she use sunscreen?
I don't know, man. She probably used like manjal or something.
That's fair.
When she was 14 years old, she was married to fellow Kalari enthusiast named Attu Manamel Kuniraman.
Mhm.
Attu was looking to gain Archa's affections for a very long time, having fallen in love with her. I mean, clearly, our girl is a boss. He befriended her brother Aromal and eventually asked for her hand in marriage. And Archa and her family said yes. Now, this actually was not normal. In her community, it was actually considered appropriate to marry within the clan.
Yep.
She should have ideally been wed to either her father's sister's son or mother's brother's son.
So, Atte Payan or
Yeah.
Mama Payan?
Correct. Exactly
okay.
that one. So today that practice would be frowned upon because, science, and we've come to understand that inbreeding is kind of bad for your gene pool, man.
Nisha,
Hmm.
do you know what is the best cousin to marry?
What? What is the best? I don't know your second.
No cousin at all. Don't marry your cousins.
Yes, well done, Raghavi. But however, this was how power was retained within the clan back in the day.
Mhm.
Unless like you were Akbar the Great or whatever, you weren't really going to get a chance to marry outside of your community.
That's fair. And one such man who would have ideally been betrothed to Archa was Chandru. Now, Chandru was an orphan boy who was raised by Archa's father. So he wasn't technically a relative, but he did possess, all the entitlement that made him feel that Archa belonged to him.
Of course.
But Aromal did not like Chandru, and he did not want his sister to be wed to him. For as far as we understand, Archa didn't like him either. So also in the community, a woman can only be married to a man who was recognized as a Kalari warrior, having gone through the requisite training. And Chandru had not undergone that rite of passage. In any case, just to sum it up, no one wanted to marry Chandru, but Chandru wanted to marry Archa. Except Archa was like, no, I'm going to marry Attu. And this really pissed off Chandru because Archa obviously rejected him.
It's weird when you say Chandru because that's my dad's name.
I know, as I said it, I was just like, uncle?
But the funny thing is, in a lot of places that I read, they refer to him as Chandu, which actually makes more sense to me because when my dad was working in Kerala, a lot of people used to call him Chandu.
Oh.
Maybe it's a Kerala thing. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, so this whole thing was kind of, quite a waste in hindsight because Archa went to her husband's new home and she was met with a lot of hostility. Turns out that Attu also had someone he was expected to be betrothed to. That was his cousin Talu.
No, man, just fine, whatever.
And then his family ended up treating Archa quite badly. In return, Archa, who was raised to defend herself in any circumstance, would politely be like, get lost. So when her father asked her to be cordial with them, she is known to have said, you won't get Unniyarcha for that, indicating that to be with Unniyarcha would mean you should expect some level of sass, which I mean...
I get it.
You go, girl.
Samesies.
Her husband loved her though, and she was more than capable of just standing up to her in-laws. So there was some version of peace in her household.
That's right. Now, Unniyarcha, as we know, was still a trained Kalari expert, and she did not want to let these skills go to waste. Especially with her husband and father's encouragement, she would often go to tournaments. One such tournament that she wanted to go to was at the temple festival of Alli Malarkavu. To get there, though, she had to go through an area called Nadapuram, and it was rife with bandits and goons. So women in particular were warned not to go into the area for, fear of being kidnapped or abused by goons. Her family tried to dissuade her, but it appears Archa was headstrong, as you can see the last 5 minutes of us summarizing her life. So instead, her family was like, fine, we'll go with you, I guess.
Best.
And of course, she and her husband, who ended up going, they ended up getting ambushed in a forested area by these bandits. So they said her husband basically admonished her at this point.
Of course. Who doesn't love a good I told you so from a man?
I love being judged by a man. But Archa's husband was right. This was classic Adiga Prasangitan.
Nice.
But Archa responded to him by saying, I, being a woman, do not tremble. Why then you, a man, quiver at the sight of these fellows? As a member of the Putram clan, I don't even fear if there are 1,000 men.
Ooh.
Big words, I know, but she's got the skill to back them up.
Yeah,
because,
that's the
yeah,
only reason you can say those things.
I know it's arrogance that comes from talent, basically.
Yes.
And Archa just basically beat those men back in blue, and they were forced to accept defeat. In fact, these men rushed back to their leader, and the leader, who was like, oh, okay, sent his wife to go and pacify Archa.
Yeah, more like to make sure she doesn't like kill all of the men.
That's a great strategy, though. So the
Yes.
wife, when she went, she took a lot of gold and jewelry with her,
Hmm.
asking Archa to please leave them alone. So Archa took the gold, but she had one more condition. She insisted that all women passing by Nadapuram should be granted safe passage. A feminist for our times, not our
Nice.
times, 16th century.
Yeah.
But yes, nonetheless. And the goons had to agree. So Archa went off home with all this gold, having somehow achieved safe passage for women through this forest area. She went home and she took this gold and handed it over to her in-laws, and she told them proudly, I have brought your son back safe and sound.
Oh, what? Like, this is so cool.
I know.
Over time, Archa, who settled well into her family home, had become pregnant. Her brother Aromal asked her to train the child in Kalari and name the kid after him. And Archa agreed because she loved her brother dearly. But in a few short weeks before the birth of her child, Aromal was challenged to a duel by a man named Aringodar. Aringodar was much more experienced than Aromal, having won at least 18 Kalaris so far. But pride made Aromal accept the challenge and he prepared for the battle. So Archa pleaded with her brother not to take it up because she felt like something was off, probably just intuition. Like, why would a man who has won so many prestigious battles ask her brother, who was still in training, to duel with him? Something just felt off. But Aromal just said, if something happens to me, you have your son. Name him after me and train him well. On the day of the duel, Aromal fought well, but he was faltering against just the mere size of experience that Aringodar had. To help him, Aromal's father appointed Chandu to assist him.
Chandu, as in the man who originally wanted to marry Archa?
That's the one. Sounds shady, right?
Yeah, very.
So the battle began, the men fought valiantly until Aromal's sword broke in two. Now, it so happens that Aringodar was not a man of good honor. He had paid a blacksmith off to make Aromal a defective sword. But no matter, because Chandu was there to hand over a substitute to Aromal. Except Chandu was nowhere to be seen.
Who would have guessed?
Dun, dun, dun. So, when the sword broke, Aromal desperately looked around for Chandu to hand the substitute weapon, but while he was fighting Aringodar with his bare hands. But Chandu had just vanished. And Aromal persisted, however, and somehow gathered one end of the broken sword to defend himself. And by just a pure act of courage and skill, Aromal managed to use the broken sword to decapitate Aringodar. And thus, Aromal won.
Hey, okay, this
Yeah.
ended better than I thought.
But he was like exhausted. And as the crowd cheered, he just collapsed on the ground. Happy, but completely spent. And in that moment, he spotted Chandu. Chandu was running towards him, carrying a weapon. Aromal thought, well, better late than never, right? Nope, wrong. Chandu brought the sword, stood over Aromal, and with a wide, evil smile, he pierced Aromal's belly with a sword.
No.
Yeah. And Aromal, who was already heavily injured, died on the spot.
The crowd erupted into madness. Archa, who obviously witnessed the murder of her brother, jumped to the field to avenge his death immediately, but the girl was pregnant, she couldn't get far. By the time she made it to Aromal, Chandu had fled from the site. Now Archa obviously was distraught, and she promised Aromal's lifeless body that she would avenge his death.
Yep.
In time, through her grief, she gave birth to a baby boy who she named Aromaluni. And her sister-in-law, who's Aromal's wife, gave birth to a boy around the same time as well, and he was named Kannappanuni. And Archa took it upon herself basically to train both boys extensively in Kalari. Now, Archa, of course, wanted to avenge her brother personally, but the fact was she was older by now. Her body was affected by childbirth, and she obviously lived a pretty comfortable lifestyle at home. So she needed someone young, someone hot-blooded who could really translate her thirst for revenge into actual action. And she knew her son and her nephew would be the right people to do this. So the thing is, she was in the process of training these two boys, and unfortunately, another tragedy hit Archa's family. So remember her husband, Attu?
Yes.
He had sought to battle Aringodar's younger brother, also to avenge Aromal's death.
How much avenging, man, will they all do? This is worse than the plot of Race.
Yeah, it really is. But unfortunately, Attu wasn't as skilled as Aromal or even Archa, and he was killed very quickly. And apparently his body was cut up into 12 pieces.
Whoa.
Archa now was a widow. By the way, at the age of 21.
Oh my goodness.
She got married at 14, remember? It just kind of makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah. So How did Archa take this, you ask?
Oh, she went to a grief counselor and she took all this out by journaling.
No, that is no. Journaling did not exist at the time, and a counselor was likely just the moon. You just talk to the moon. No, but she did look up at the sky anyway, and she said, "If there is any justice in the world, I will avenge my brother and my husband by drawing the blood of the family that felled them. Until then, I will not tie my hair up. It will flow free till it is stained with my enemy's blood."
Damn. What we see this in the Kannagi episode as well, right? Like when women get pissed off when they're out for revenge, the first thing they do is open your hair.
Yeah, I do that too. When I'm really mad, I'm just like, when I'm like arguing with Amazon on customer service, I just like virify my hair and I'm just like, I will fell you. I will drown you in the blood of my enemies.
Actually, I do the opposite. Like, because if I'm going to do something, I can't have my hair in my face. I always put it. So if I put my hair up, it means business.
Oh no, you should stand, where the wind is blowing in your direction. So it's like very elegantly just sort of flowing around. Also wear red lipstick, that really helps.
Done. Next time. So Archa went back to training the boys with new purpose. At the age of 12, both boys debuted their skill at their Arangetram, which is a show of their skills for the first time to a public audience.
I actually think it's really cool that the word Arangetram is used, because I watched Kalari performances. Dude, it's almost like they're dancing, you know?
Yeah, it kind of is. Like, it's. Have you ever seen the, I'm sure you would have, the Avatar, The Last Airbender, the TV show?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
The TV show, not the movie.
Yes, the TV show, not the movie. My God, not the movie. I feel Kalari is so similar to like the airbending and waterbending styles. It's just like flowy and smooth. So it kind of does look like they're dancing.
That's true. Actually, fun fact, nobody asked, but my cats, they're both named after characters from Avatar, The Last Airbender. So Zuko, who is, the Fire Nation prince, and Momo, who is that dumb little flying lemur thing.
Yes. So back to the story. After the Arangetram, Archa sent the boys off to find Chandu. Apparently, he was in hiding this whole time for fear that he would be killed by Archa's skilled pupils. And he was right. But he couldn't. Like, you can run, but you cannot hide. And that worked. The boys found Chandru and they killed him. I'm not sure if they dueled him. Was it like a old-fashioned stealth kill? But Chandru did die. And when Archa heard of this news, she was delighted. She instructed the boys to bring his severed head back to her. She took the head and gave it to her father as a present.
Oh, so sweet. No one has ever loved me enough to give me a severed head as a present.
Don't the cats like constantly bring dead animals to you?
Yeah, but only lizards. And never the heads. It's the whole body, usually.
I'm assuming the heads are most yummy. So they're just like, I'll eat this part.
No, actually, I think they bring the whole thing to me so I can eat it.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah, I think they think I'm really bad at hunting for myself. Okay, so now the story doesn't really end here, by the way. It gets more gross somehow. It appears Archa wasn't just done with killing Chandu. That's kind of was not enough for her. To make it clear to all the clansmen that she cannot be messed around with, Archa put Chandu's head on a pike and displayed it outside their house. And so fearful was the entire region of, Archa specifically. They were so scared of her that no one really questioned this display of human flesh. They just went about their days and pretended like everything was normal. Nobody like made eye contact with that thing, In fact, it said even the vultures and other scavengers in the area were so scared of Archa that they refused to touch the head. So Chandu's head basically rotted in the sun over many, many weeks and stood there as a symbol of Archa's anger.
Oh God, in that Kerala heat and humidity, it was just there. Oh my God.
But you know what? I guess, climate change wasn't a thing then. So
yeah, but Kerala is always like hot and humid.
Maybe.
Also, it rains a lot. Can you?
Oh,
there's still like more to the story, but we don't want to get too into it. But apparently, Archa's son Arumalunni moved to Tulunadu after killing Chandu in order to continue his studies under another Gurukul. Here, he fell in love with a woman called Kunjimakum. She was a fellow student at the Kalari school as well, except Kunjimakum was ... Chandu's daughter.
I didn't know this, even though I wrote this episode.
Unniyarcha came to know about this and she tried to fix another match for her son, but he refused. And legend says that when Archa met Kunjimakam, she was kind of reminded of herself. She saw the same like determination and skill that Archa once possessed as a young Kalari student. And Archa then said, if my son wants to marry the daughter of his father's killer, then that's his choice.
I'm getting some heavy Oedipus vibes, aren't you?
I mean, this entire story is, you marry your cousin or your... So, yeah, let's just accept it and move on.
That's fair.
Unniyarcha had the couple married in a very lavish ceremony. Then she left on a pilgrimage to Omalur temple. She told her son and new daughter-in-law to visit her on the 7th day of her pilgrimage. And they did. However, they did not find Archa in the temple. They found her on the banks of the river, lifeless. Archa, having completed her promise to her brother and her husband, spent her final days at the temple and decided to join the rest of her family in the afterlife.
Well, that was beautiful. Terrifying, but beautiful. But you know what's just plain beautiful? The lovely shows we have for you on IVM. Yay! Let's take a little break.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by Alex Dweck of NAS Academy. They discuss creators becoming educators. On Misconduct, Raghavi and Nisha look into the defamation suit against controversial actress Kangana Ranaut. On Audio Gyan, Kedar speaks to industrial designer Sharat Chauhan. They discuss designing home appliances. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth explains the difference between two kinds of campaigns, awareness building and brand building. And on Hans Vani, hear how two cancer patients fall in love in the story Grey Shades. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. And also remember, you can check out a lot of our stuff on YouTube. Go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube and you'll get a list of all the various channels that we do have. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back after the break. So, we know this by now. Unniyarcha is incredibly important for Kerala and its literary history. But is there any way you can find out more about her without having to read a book? Because you likely have no Malayalam to read it, not because you don't read. So you're in luck. There are 6 movies that have been made about her, movies and TV shows actually. This includes adaptations that were made in 1961, 1972, 1989 and 2002. And we have not watched any of them because we couldn't find them on any platform at all.
Also, we don't like to pirate movies. It is wrong.
Yes,
you wouldn't
it is.
steal a... What is that ad that used to come?
You wouldn't download a car.
Aha, yes. You wouldn't download a car.
I mean, I guess now you would have to because most cars are.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, well. But yes, we don't like to pirate movies. Although if you do pirate, please make sure you seed your torrents because it's important to give back to the community, Just putting it out there. Also, the 1961 movie adaptation in particular, it was the very first one representing a story from the Vadakkan Paattukal on screen. And this inspired several more period pieces, especially with like Northern Malabar ballads. It was so well received, apparently both critically and commercially, that it just sort of paved the way for Vadakkan folklore to just make its way into mainstream cinema.
Yeah, and this representation is really important, right? To be able to definitively say, yes, an integral part of my community's literature has made its way into mainstream recognition. It's so important for every community to feel that way in some measure or the other. So I'm really glad it happened.
Yeah, but there's also some controversy, isn't there, about one of the other movies that were made on Unniyarcha?
Yes, there is. In 1989, M.T. Vasudevan Nayar's film on Unniyarcha, it drew some ire from audiences. So this film was called Oru Vadakkan Veerakadai, which translated to mean a northern ballad of courage. I know most of my pronunciations are like more skewed towards Tamil, so if I'm wrong, please correct me.
You are wrong. It's Veerakada.
Okay, fine.
I'm sorry. No, it's okay. I get it. It makes sense, but we're trying our best, guys. This is genuinely really hard for us. Yeah.
So in this movie, they depicted Archa in a very different way from the original ballad. So Archa was written to be like an adulterous woman of low morals who enticed Chandu and then dumped him when it didn't suit her needs. It wouldn't surprise you that Chandu was played by superstar Mammootty, who was depicted as a misunderstood man who needed to fix his reputation after it's like sullied by Archa.
Mhm.
The ending with his death is actually depicted as a tragedy. By the way, Mammootty won the National Award for this movie, and
Of course.
it's received both like commercial and critical success.
Mhm.
But years later, with the advantage of hindsight, many view this movie as the patriarchy winning over a woman's tale of valor.
Mhm.
And to be fair, this won't be the first or the last time that happens. Sure, Archa did some awful things, but her story is very important to Northern Malabar identity. So some people found this depiction to be very upsetting.
Mhm.
Having said that, we also don't know what the true version of the story even is.
Mhm.
This is kind of like the time when I first read Mahabharat, like from those Amar Chitra
Amar Chitra
Kathas.
Kathas,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you tend to feel like, Kauravas, Karna, bad people. They deserve everything that came to them. And Pandavas are the best and things like that. But like as you grow up and you read more books, like either the one by C. Rajgopalachari or even Jaya by Devdutt Patnaik, you start to realize that these stories are so grey. Like everyone has their own motives and reasons for what they do.
I think that's fair. I mean, like that is the artistic liberty that you should be able to take as a filmmaker, and that's why representation is important, because it's a different perspective. It's important in any art form. And sure, this may have upset some people, but it's within the artist's prerogative to do that. If it doesn't do well commercially, that's fine, but he should be able to put it out, and that's what's important.
Yeah, fair. Also, aside from the movies, Unniyarcha is also a brand of jewelry that's run and operated by a woman, Divya Nambiar. All the marketing material and the images on their website, it looks exactly like the stuff that someone from North Malabar would wear. In fact, the entire line was inspired by Unniyarcha herself, which is very cool. I understand that Archa loved to wear a lot of jewelry, stuff that accentuated her feminine side. And the final accessory that she adds to her wardrobe is this giant ass sword that she uses to wreak havoc, which is kind of cool.
Oh, you kind of idolize her, don't you?
Maybe.
And that kind of brings us to the end of this episode. Wow, this was a quick one, huh?
It was.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe I should add a sword to my like accessories. It just seems like a cool thing to do.
You want one? I can get you one.
Yes.
Yeah? Cool. It'll be blunt though, because, that's just responsible.
No.
Oh. However, if you, the listeners, like us, please review us on Apple Podcasts and Audible. You can also leave a little heart on Spotify.
Yes.
We'll put the links for all of this in our Instagram bio. Speaking of Instagram bio.
Yes. You can find us on Instagram. My handle is @just.nishful.thinking.
And my handle is @ragi.dose. Somebody wrote to us on Instagram saying it was really hard to find our handles. It's in the episode description. It's right there. Just look at it right now. Quickly go look at it. It's right there.
And we'll also have all of the sources and all of the information on our blog, so you can go and read up more on that. If you have more information about Unniyarcha, if you have more information about Vadakkan Paattukal, please tell us. We love to learn more. We love when you guys engage with us and tell us like these things. In fact, even if you go to the museum that Raghavi was talking about, if you can show us like pictures from there, because right now traveling is hard. But if you can help us, we will vicariously watch through your pictures. That would be awesome.
That's true. We would absolutely love that.
Yes. And we will see you on the next episode of Misconduct.
See you guys.
सफर, रास्ते, मंजिल और मुकाम अक्सर ये हमसे कुछ कहना चाहते हैं, पर हम हैं कि अपनी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में इन्हें सुनने से कतराते हैं। नमस्ते दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है केशव चतुर्वेदी और मैं आपको ले चलूंगा कुछ ऐसे सफर पर जहां आपको एक नया नजरिया मिलेगा सफर और मंजिलों को देखने का। आइए इन किस्से कहानियों में डूब जाएं, हर मंगलवार और शुक्रवार।
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM Podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. you have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.